Next up in my Weirwood boss stage walkthroughs, it's going to be stage 258 and whatever follows the same mechanics, which will be listed later on in the title also. So 258 is another unique stage. It shows here 5 Wights without abilities, as well as the Night King having his own abilities, but what isn't shown here is when the fight starts, there will immediately be 6 additional Wights without abilities that come up from behind your set of commanders as well. So you'll end up fighting 11 Wights and the Night King. The key to this fight as a result will be an excess of long distance and AoE damage, and it will pretty much just be a DPS check fight. There is very little damage that will be done to you throughout this fight. All the damage you take will primarily be from that Frosty Origins effect, where every 6 seconds you will take 15% of your max health on each of your commanders. Just one healer will be sufficient to heal your way through that. The big issue is the 700,000 health that the Night King has here, and if there are iterations of this fight with higher stages as well, he'll have even more health in those stages. So the key here will be killing all 11 Wights and him at once. So we have several commanders here, which will do AoE damage and deal as much damage as possible in that scenario. So Kravras will hit all enemies, both in front and behind him, which is unique because, like Bane can hit the 6 in front of him or the 6 behind him, but Kravras can do both at once. And you will find yourself in scenarios where you can just let the AoE damage from the likes of Kravras, the likes of O'Bane, tick down the Wights whilst you focus your damage primarily into the Night King. Because if, say, 2 of the Wights behind your commanders would die normally to just Kravras using his active ability throughout the fight anyway, and you end up using a Sheila active on that commander, that's effectively wasted damage because you could have just used that Sheila active into the Night King instead, and the Kravras actives would kill that commander anyway. So as long as you can heal through the damage you're taking, then you're going to want to spread your damage out so that as little is wasted in the time that you have allocated. Because of the lack of damage going on as well, we can use Enzo and sort of play to his passive by letting him get low deliberately. Again, Enzo isn't theoretically free to play, but he is through certain events such as Corolla, and he makes this stage so much easier even at grey rarity. If you don't have him yet and you're a low spender, Corolla will be once every other month. It rotates with Lair of Flames, and it will be in the 6th of a month every single time. So this fight doesn't have too much to counter. The Night King does have a skill damage reduction buff that he applies to himself, and there is actually no means of removing that in this composition. And that is primarily going to be the purpose of Enzo here, in that he will provide so much normal attack damage that you can cut down the Night King's health very heavily just through that alone. And because of that, these 2 Wights up here and this cavalry probably have priority in terms of some element of burst damage through the likes of Soren and Sheila, just so that Enzo can move onto the Night King as soon as possible. So when we get into the fight itself, we're going to want to wait for the commanders that come in from behind us to actually walk in before using our actives initially. So here they come, and then we can start hitting them as they come behind us. You're going to want to use Kravras as quick as possible, O'Bane as quick as possible since it's AoE. I'm letting Enzo get hit just a little bit deliberately right now, just so he stacks his passive up a bit. Soren's getting too low though, so I have to heal. You can see Enzo's damage is already ramping up to very significant levels. So O'Bane and Kravras are just absolutely tearing through these Wights at the back. I'm going to shift the Sheila actives to the Wights in the front. I'm going to keep letting this Wight Bowman hit Enzo just so he keeps dealing more damage as a result. And it will just be pretty much rinse repeat for the rest of the fight until Night King dies. Remember that the Night King has skill damage reduction applied to him, so using skills directly on him may not have as much of an impact as you'd be looking for in terms of dealing damage, so you might want to use them on the Wights instead. You see that everything is almost dead, and we'll come to the end of the fight in just a second with the Night King dying right there, and that is stage 258, and anything else that follows the same mechanics as this fight here.